get started. Ready? Hello, I'm Krishna Machala, and this is Group 3 on the financial crisis. We have with us today Jasmine Sue, Lorena Villa, Sean Moore, and Dr. Matthew Chapman Moore Sr. Today we're going to discuss the causes, effects, and solutions of the current economic crisis. To start off this debate, Jasmine is going to expand on loans and its effect.
Considered by many, the current financial crisis has been considered the worst since the Great Depression, and it all began because of subprime mortgages. Statistics show that 2.8 million faced foreclosures in 2009, and most were because people were involved in subprime mortgages. Mortgage brokers took advantage of people because they failed to adequately check people's income and see if they can really afford the loans. As a result of foreclosures, people lost their homes and had to move in with relatives, or in a motel, or in a car, or on the streets. The National Center on Family Homelessness estimates that 1.5 million children in the United States to be homeless. This overall shows that the collateral damage of subprime mortgages is far-reaching.
What will happen when the property value declines?
When the property value declines, many homeowners will be trapped in their expensive adjustable rate mortgages. As a result, homeowners will have trouble paying their bills on time, and their credit score will slowly start decreasing.
So, this will lead to something really different, because before the housing bubble was not driven by supply and demand, but now we will have a huge supply because of overbuilding. And then the demand is lowered because we have all these baby boomers retiring, selling their house, wanting to rent, get apartments. Right now, ideally, is the time to buy, but no one has the money to. So I think a lot of what you're saying, this impact is going to be seen throughout the whole economy as we've been facing it right now. So that's a big deal.
So you're saying that the financial crisis happened because of extension of credit, which caused a domino effect, eventually leading to bad credit and foreclosure?
Yes.
So do you think that the people don't have any effect in this? Like, this isn't our fault, it's all because of the loans?
I believe that people are at fault too, because if they could not afford the loans, they use the value of housing as a collateral. So in the end, they could owe more than they borrowed.
So what are some solutions to prevent foreclosures from happening?
A solution to prevent foreclosures from happening is to provide legal assistance to beleaguered homeowners. Having legal help can be a difference between families keeping their homes and being evicted. Lawyers can stop foreclosure proceedings or put enough pressure on lenders to convince them to rework terms of the loans. Also, lawyers can enforce consumer protection law on spotting legal violations by banks and lenders. Another solution to prevent foreclosures from happening is to push people to start investing in smaller, more local banks and credit unions instead of investing in one of the big banks such as Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, CTI Groups, and Wells Fargo. By investing in smaller banks and credit unions, people will take a big step towards transforming the financial system so it again becomes productive. Another solution is to get help from the government. The government can pass cram-down bills allowing homeowners in bankruptcy to negotiate their mortgages under the guidance of a bankruptcy judge.
Okay, well, here's Matthew with a different viewpoint on the financial crisis.
Alright, well, banking is important, and I do agree with you that bankers need to be more aware and cautious about who they're loaning to and how much money. However, I believe that the main reason why we're in this situation is that the people are making bad decisions. They know exactly how much they make, and they know what they're taking out, and how much they're taking out, and that they're not going to be able to pay them back.
Well, I have to disagree with that, because what about the people who didn't have financial experience? It's not like you need to pass a test to buy a home. And I feel like people should be told that to take a safe mortgage, it should be 3 times their income with 20% down. People have been taking 2% down on their house and having to pay 6 times their income, which just can't happen, especially in a recession. I understand that if you have little experience, you should, get knowledge on this, but these these lenders were lying to them, essentially, as Jasmine was saying.
Well, even if the lenders are lying to them, they have to realize that they're buying a house. Even if they don't have experience, they have to work things out on their own. They have to take responsibility for what they're doing and, realize that what they're buying is going to be, the biggest investment that they're going to make. And they cannot take out loans that are too big. They can't buy a house if they can't afford it.
And these people a lot of times think that if something were to happen to them, the government's going to bail them out, which isn't always the case.
Right. We can't rely on government, and other people's taxes to pay for something that we've done. I believe that an excellent example of this is a free market economy. Milton Friedman focuses on this through his studies of Hong Kong. He has interviewed many corporations of Hong Kong and how they focus on free trade with no restrictions. They import and export freely with other nations, and their income is based on what they can produce. People have there's no minimum wage there, and with this, people are able to they're not going to be able to get income from the government. They're relying on themselves. If they're not productive, then they're not going to make any money. We right now have very many trade restrictions. A prime example of these restrictions is the U.S. embargo against Cuba. In 1960, we did this as a response to the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was a valid reason at the time. However, I believe that there's no longer a reason for this, and Cuba can be a valuable resource in trade. Right now, we need to increase minimum wage, though. The only problem that I have with the free market economy is that it doesn't have a minimum wage, was what I said. But if we can increase minimum wage, we're going to encourage people to get jobs, to go out and work, to get a living, and that will encourage production in the economy.
I disagree about the increase in minimum wage. How do you know if people will really work hard? You never know for a fact that they will just...
Well, that doesn't matter, because right now the economy, with Obama, has just passed a law or not a law, but he's extended unemployment benefits another 33 weeks. That just encourages people to not want to go get a job at all. They can just, why have a minimum wage job when you can be, collecting money from your home doing nothing. It doesn't matter if they're going to work hard or not at these minimum wage jobs. But if you raise the minimum wage, you're going to encourage people to go out and at least look for a job to be productive. If no one's working in the economy, then we're not producing anything, and our GDP is going down. And at the same time, we're having to take care of these people who, can't take care of themselves and their own families.
Right. We also have to consider that it would be almost near impossible having a free market economy with a minimum wage or any set of payment, because how do we get corporations to agree with this, if you think about it? Since the whole point of free market is, make your own choices. The corporation decides based on the employer's demand how much they should get paid for. So that would be a difficulty.
Okay, to sum up what you're saying, Matt, you want a free market economy, some parts of it, but you want a minimum wage and you want it to be increased.
Right. I know that's kind of different, because a free market economy is minimum government intervention, but I think that the government needs to step in, raise the minimum wage, so that we will be encouraging people to go out and be more productive. But the free market economy has many valuable aspects that we can benefit from.
Okay, well, here we have Lorena to expand on the effects of unemployment.
So everyone knows unemployment is a huge factor in this recession. I mean, just like Matt was saying, recently passed, included in the stimulus bill, was an increase of 33 weeks of unemployment. And this, if you think about it, can have a negative and positive effect. Obviously, when it was passed, it was thought to have a positive effect. I mean, giving more money to our country and infusing it with money can also help circulate it, which hasn't been the case, because as it's been seen in different diagrams, is that the unemployment rate actually increased 3% during this time that that this bill was passed. So if we think about it, is it just a coincidence that the unemployment has increased, or is it because people are tired of looking for jobs and decide to say, okay, well, I'll file a paper saying I'm looking for a job and can receive unemployment? And we're talking about, in some states, $900 a week. I mean, this is a lot of money. This money is more than some people are getting paid a minimum wage. So I think that's something to consider when you put such a prize out there. It stops motivating people because it's just easier to receive.
Do you think we shouldn't have unemployment benefits at all then?
Well, no, because that would be neglecting people with disabilities, the elderly. I mean, we all care about, our parents. We all want them to have a secure life. And I think unemployment benefits definitely help those in need, but there are a lot of those who just take advantage.
Yeah, unemployment is definitely something that we're all affected by. Just like walking into Publix these days, you see all elderly people working while it used to be a bunch of teenagers. I was actually in the job market in the summer, and I was competing with elderly people that should have been retired for like 20 years now, but they need the money to survive.
And you know why this is? This is because teenagers have been impacted the most on unemployment. So I see where you're coming from. Teenagers have actually had a 7.8% increase than anyone else and other adults. So this is why, like you said, you just can't find work.
Mm-hmm. And we need a solution to fixing this. Sean uses manufacturing as a solution to unemployment.
As we all know, the Great Depression was one of the worst financial crises in history. But what brought us out of the Great Depression was manufacturing. U.S. GDP went from $800 billion in 1938 to $1,500 billion in 1945. This increase in production stemmed from the need for production of aircrafts, vehicles, ammunition, and all sorts of weapons needed throughout the war. And also, many jobs were created during this time because the men would go off to war, and this would leave women with the responsibility of taking over the workforce, which almost doubled jobs. And one of the main reasons why we won the war was because we outproduced the Axis powers.
Well, during the Great Depression, there was so much to invent, so many things to do with World War II and manufacturing. How can we do that? How can we compete with that now?
That is true, but nowadays countries such as China are progressing more and more every single day, and are creating products that other countries want. And if you look around, in the U.S., tons of our consumer products say "Made in China" have "Made in China" stickers attached to them. Who says that the U.S. can't take the same initiative? It comes down to the fact that U.S. needs to be exporting more than it's importing, because this is what, in essence, brought us out of the Great Depression.
I completely agree with that. And another way that the United States can become more sustainable is through farming. This is an area that we've been importing a lot of foods. I mean, we have to subsidize corn in order to keep producing it. And if you go to the grocery store, almost everything you see contains corn. And we currently rely on other countries, like you said, as China, for things that we are capable of producing ourselves. What happens if we were to go into war? Would our food supply be cut off? I mean, I hope not.
Yeah, that's a great example. Another example I have of how manufacturing got a country out of a financial crisis is Argentina in 1999. This crisis relates a little more to our current situation because there was no war to dig us out and cause an increase in production. And back then, what the Argentinian government decided to do was look more inward and focus on their manufacturing sector. They put more emphasis on agriculture and became more self-sustaining. The government encouraged import substitution, and they tightened their tax collecting policies. And because of this, their imports didn't increase, and this increased production caused a great increase in GDP. And since then, since 2002, their GDP has risen by at least 10% every year. So, you know, obviously Argentina is doing something right, and hopefully the U.S. can learn from some of their aspects of success.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that in this process of increasing GDP, we can also, you know, help the unemployment, get those teenagers working, get the adults working, even the elderly. They could do something in manufacturing. We saw in the Great Depression anyone would work, didn't matter your age. So I think that would definitely be good for the GDP.
Well, I don't know. I like what Sean was saying with manufacturing and making bringing up our trade balance. Exporting is a great way to increase our GDP, you know, as opposed to GNP. GDP, you know, is gross domestic product, what is, you know, produced actual in the continental U.S. And, you know, we have a great thing in the technology in Apple. And, however, we have the Apple factories and locations all around the world. You know, we're benefiting from Apple, but at the same time, we're providing jobs for people in other countries. Right now, the unemployment rate is hovering around 10% in the U.S. And if we can localize all of these factories, these Apple factories, bring them to America, and provide jobs for American citizens, you know, and then export from here, people aren't going to stop buying Apple products. You know, they're going to be buying it straight from the U.S. And if we have these foreign companies buying straight from us rather than, you know, in locations around the world, this is going to benefit our gross domestic product much more than it has been in recent years.
Okay, so overall we have talked about the causes of the crisis being unemployment, the housing crisis, which is linked to the banking crisis. The solutions we have are increasing GDP, rise in minimum wage, and an improvement in the housing market. In the past, we have used the New Deal to incorporate employment, manufacturing, and many aspects talked about today. Now we rely on our government and the people of our nation to improve our current solution. As Patel says, the people can change our current status if we vote.
Not even close.
17.